Welcome, I'm Brooke Boney and it's my great pleasure to host this video to celebrate the inaugural ARA Historical Novel Prize during this history-making COVID-19 pandemic. The winner of the prize will be announced by live stream at the end of the video, selected from the shortlist of 3 talented authors and their outstanding novels. To begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and culture. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. In particular, I would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather today, here in the beautiful Shakespeare Room at the State Library of New South Wales. And to the peoples of New Zealand, I sincerely say, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou, katoa. The 2020 ARA Historical Novel Prize is the most significant genre-based prize in Australasia. It's designed to give historical novelists the opportunity to be recognised in a class of their own, for the first time ever as part of an Australian and New Zealand Literary Award. The prize is the result of a shared vision between the Historical Novel Society Australasia and Edward Fetterman, the Managing Director of the ARA Group. Having already offered a prize purse of $30,000, Edward doubled his initial funding commitment for the inaugural award, increasing the total prize monies to $60,000. The overall prize winner will now receive $50,000 with an additional $5,000 to be awarded to each of the remaining 2 shortlisted authors. I'd now like to welcome the Chair of the Historical Novel Society Australasia, Elizabeth Stores, to tell you more about the HNSA and the value of historical fiction.
HNSA was established to promote the reading, writing and publishing of historical fiction in Australia and New Zealand, primarily through our biennial conferences. Our motto is, let's make a noise about historical fiction, and I think we have resoundingly achieved this with the establishment of the ARA Historical Novel Prize. Our thanks go to Edward Fetterman and the ARA Group for their generosity in enabling us to achieve this goal. Our appreciation is also extended to our hard-working judges, led by the Chair, Linda Fennell. Historical fiction provides enlightenment, entertainment and a chance to escape. Through historical novels, authors can explore bygone eras, illuminate new interpretations and transport readers into an authentic and compelling reimagining of the past. The genre also encourages readers to recognise relationships and human nature are constant across eras by weaving emotions, motivations and compassion around the scaffold of history. Importantly, it offers the opportunity to tell the stories of people that have been silenced or forgotten. I'll now hand over to Brooke to introduce the chosen books to you. Warm congratulations to all the authors, with special mention to the 3 shortlisters. And best of luck in being the one to break the ribbon at the finishing line.
Congratulations to the wonderful authors whose novels were longlisted for the ARA Historical Novel Prize. These include Nigel Featherstone for Bodies of Men, Dominic Smith for The Electric Hotel, CHRISTOS for Damascus, Pip Williams for The Dictionary of Lost Words, Tara June WINCH for The Yield. I would also like to congratulate the 3 authors shortlisted for the prize. They are Sienna Brown for Master of My Fate, published by Penguin Books Australia, Catherine JINKS for Shepherd, published by Text Publishing, Mirandi Rewo for Stone Sky Gold Mountain, published by University of Queensland Press. Now let's hear from Edward Fetterman from the ARA Group to hear his reasons for sponsoring the award.
I would like to congratulate the talented novelists, both longlisted and shortlisted, for the 2020 ARA Historical Novel Prize. It's a pleasure to be involved in what will be a long-lasting contribution to the arts, to a genre which has, until now, perhaps not received the attention it rightly deserves. I am very proud ARA is able to fund this literary prize. We recognize money for the arts is at a premium, particularly in this pandemic we are living in today. In light of this, we're hopeful the additional funding for the ARA Historical Novel Prize will not only make a considerable difference to the lives of the winning authors, but also shine a light on the historical fiction genre and the work of all entrants across the trans-Tasman community. Ever since I was a boy, borrowing books from my town's classic Fieldstone library, I've had a love of literature and remain a voracious reader today. I've now read all 8 books on the long list with great pleasure. It's a dream come true for me to see the logo of ARA on these highly regarded historical novels.
There were 4 members of the judging panel for the ARA Historical Novel Prize, which was chaired by Linda Fennell. Linda is the co-editor of the Newtown Review of Books, a freelance editor and a publishing consultant. Paula Morris, an historical novelist, academic, and the founder of the Academy of New Zealand Literature. Kirsty Murray, an historical novelist, creative fellow of the State Library of Victoria, and AsiaLink literature resident in India. And Colin Falconer, author of over 24 historical novels that have been translated across 23 languages. It's now my great pleasure to introduce the chair of the judging panel, Linda Fennell.
It is a privilege to be one of the judges for the inaugural ARA Historical Novel Prize. My thanks and salutations to my fellow judges, Paula Morris, Kirsty Murray and Colin Falconer. This is an important prize recognising a significant literary genre. It has been tremendous to see the breadth and quality of historical fiction being written and published in Australia and New Zealand, and to see it being celebrated with such a generous prize as this. The response to the call out for entries was, it's fair to say, far greater than anyone anticipated, with the judges assessing a total of 185 books, from children's to romance to historical fantasy to literary fiction. There were many, many fine novels submitted. The judging was a fiendishly challenging exercise. But it also encompassed the excitement of discovering great writing, of being introduced to history I hadn't known, and of seeing new light shed on familiar stories. The shortlisted titles more than meet the 3 key criteria for this award, displaying not only excellence in writing, but depth of historical research and reader appeal. Each of these novels provides an immersive experience of the past and does so with freshness and originality. Congratulations to Sienna Brown, Catherine JINKS and Mirandi Rewo.
HNSA has produced illustrated readings to mark this very special occasion. Please enjoy hearing from our shortlisted authors Sienna Brown, Catherine JINKS and Mirandi Rewo.
At first is a small world we live in, gurgling in the soft, leaf-shadowed morning light, a world of birdsong, of patches of sunlight, of river water, of milk and the sweet breath of Stella when she bent down to kiss me. And everywhere round me is a world full up with bright colours, and the sun is warm, gentle on my skin. One day, after the sun just wake and the morning heat start to rise, a backer comes stand outside our hut. A not so tall, youngish looking man with brown wavy hair, pale skin, him eyes the colour of young cane leaves. Stella act different with him. Her body tense up, and she tried to hide part of herself away, the part that loved me, to keep it safe. Don't seem to have a name, this man, because she only call him Massa, and him own Rock Pleasant, the plantation I born on. The next time Massa come to the hut, hold me up for inspection, he too pleased with himself, and me too young to know that Stella have this old-time god inside her, an ancestor god, a wrathful god, and she not done with him yet. She smile, a thin snake smile, like she getting ready to strike. What name to give the little fellow? Massa asked. Stella say nothing at first. Johnny, Peter, Sammy, James? Stella still say nothing. Come, speak up, girl, Massa say, touching him riding crop against her neck. Stella look at Massa, look at me, and veil her eyedom. Little Will, she say quietly, Little Will? William? Stella nods, smile her snake smile. Soon I feel the dark storm clouds gathering round the hut. The quiet world me been living in suddenly wheel and turn till the soft edges of my little life spin rough, twist jagged. It's only when I grow that I start to understand what happened that naming day, why Massa turned so angry. Calling me Little Will is how Stella took her eye for an eye, how she hurt Massa deep. After all the nights and days him going to her bed, having his way with her, she telling him, I is not his son, but his father's son, old Massa William. Calling me Little Will was an act of revenge, of sacrifice to the ancestor god, of throwing me, her firstborn, into a wilderness of undergang, all the while knowing that I, William, is Massa's son, in first flesh and blood, born whole. And from that naming day, I come to be like a thorn in the side of them both, a thorn that burrowed deep inside and start to fester.
In Master of My Fate, Sienna Brown reveals a little-known aspect of Australian colonial life, the experience of West Indian convicts, based on a true story. William Buchanan's early life in Jamaica as the son of a slave and the massa of Rock Pleasant Plantation starkly illustrates the cruelties and humiliation of slavery. Buchanan's mother, Stella, is a powerful figure in the narrative, and the rhythms of their lives are sharply observed. William's passionate commitment to the failed slave rebellions of the 1830s leads to his eventual transportation. Narrated by William in a lyrical and brilliantly sustained recreation of Jamaican patois, the novel is a vivid and compassionate portrait of horror and grief, hope and survival.
I was alone in the house when my brother came home for the last time. It was just after daybreak. My father was out in the cupboard somewhere. He never told me where he went, any more than he would have told the dogs or the fire irons. I was roused from my sleep by a knock at the front door and opened it to find a small crowd in the street. The vicar was there with the parish constable and Colonel Newton's underkeeper. Jack was there too. He was laid out in an old door under a blood-stained blanket. You must prepare yourself, Tom Clay, the vicar said. The next thing I remember, we were all in the kitchen with Jack lying on my father's bed. The parish constable was explaining that Jack's wounding had been an accident. He was where he should not have been, in the line of fire. They'd shot Jack's dog, Savage, after he attacked the Colonel's gamekeeper. This second blow on top of the first left me speechless. I stood in a corner and watched the local authorities commandeer our house. But then my father came home. His sack was empty, so he must have heard all the voices and dumped his catch outside. When he walked through the kitchen door, everyone else fell silent. He was the only armed man in the room. Richard Clay, said the vicar, you must prepare yourself. My father's gun was loaded. He half cocked it and said, get out. I'll swear to this day it wasn't the musket that dispersed the men in our kitchen. It was the look on my father's face. It sent the underkeeper fleeing and the vicar and the curate along with him. A farrier called Styles held his ground, along with Cully the blacksmith and the parish constable, until my father took a step forward and said through his blackened teeth, was it Clegg? The constable opened his mouth and thought better of speaking. He nodded instead. Tell him he's a dead man, my father continued, quite calmly. Tell him no matter where he goes, no matter what he does, I'll always be on his trail. He'll never have another moment's peace while he's living, and that won't be long. You tell him that. This was the baldest truth ever spoken. Clegg was in his grave by the month's end, having been stalked like a hind before the final shot finished him. I don't know if that shot came with a warning, but I doubt it. The poacher's greatest weapon is stealth. You'd be a fool to warn anyone who's bigger or quicker or better armed than you are.
Hi, I'm Colin Falconer, and I'm talking to you about Catherine Jinks' Shepherd, which I really enjoyed. It's narrated by 13-year-old Tom Clay, a poacher turned convict shepherd who once knew every plant, every animal in his native Suffolk. Transported to New South Wales to an isolated sheep run, he laments his ignorance of the local flora and fauna. How can anyone live well in a land they don't know, he asks. In his sharp, clear voice, Shepherd explores the importance of listening to and respecting an ancient land while surviving a colonial injustice. It's taut, it's compelling, it's breathtakingly fast-paced, and it's beautifully crafted. It's imbued with a deep understanding of the natural world, and it powerfully evokes with a breathtaking momentum the brutality of desperate men.
Ying turns to glare at Lai Ye. You always take too much off. It looks ugly. She unravels the plait so she can free the shaved hair that hangs loose from her scalp. Her brother shrugs. I have to make it straight. Sometimes I shave too closely in one place and then I have to straighten up the rest. And anyway, you're supposed to look like an ugly boy. You're not a pretty girl here, Ying. She breathes in, feeling the band tight about her chest. Her breasts are no bigger than shrimp dumplings, but still she has to hide them. She's seen the look in the eyes of some of the men when they catch sight of the white women in town. She doesn't want to see that look directed to her. Not here. Not where lust will be mixed with fury at her trickery. A grin lifts Lai Ye's lips. Not that you were ever a pretty girl, Ying, even in China. His words sting, yet she's pleased to see that smile. She can't remember the last time he looked happy. He's only 19 years old, but there are creases in his forehead that weren't there before they came to this place, and the skin under his eyes is pale, baggy. The bruise on his cheek has faded a little, is no longer the livid purple of an eggplant, and the cut above his lip has nearly healed and looks like nothing more than one of the many other wrinkles or creases scored into his skin by this land's cruel sun. They weren't quick enough the last time a rowdy bunch of whitefellows descended upon them, didn't hear the drunken cries of roll up, in time to save their 2 pickaxes, the sturdy metal pan they'd traded Ying's winter coat for, and the last of the rice they'd hidden deep in the soil. One man, as gingery as a fox with thick, shaggy eyebrows, swung the spade against Lai Ye's head and called out something in his devil tongue before chasing after the others. Their camp, nearly 60 Chinese men, had scattered in all directions like a swarm of locusts shaken violently from a tree. Ying is learning their white language swiftly, but not quickly enough to catch words shouted in anger, in threat.
Stone Sky Gold Mountain is set in North Queensland's Palmer River's goldfields in the 1870s. For siblings like Yu and Ying, who have travelled from China hoping to lift their family out of poverty, it is a place of hunger, theft, harassment, and only slender amounts of gold. When Ying befriends Miriam, a young woman with her own burden of grief, they develop a complex relationship. Riwo sensitively depicts the inner lives of her characters who are struggling to survive in a hostile environment. Eloquent and richly imagined, the novel captures the complexity of diverse cultures thrown together in a violent past and gives voice to people too often overlooked in Australia's history.
Thank you all for joining us for this virtual event. I hope you've enjoyed the introduction to the shortlisted authors. I'm now delighted to hand over to Elizabeth Stores in the gallery room at the State Library of New South Wales for the live broadcast of the announcement of the winner of the 2020 ARA Historical Novel Prize.
Welcome to the gallery room of the State Library of New South Wales to hear who's the winner of the 2020 ARA Historical Novel Prize. COVID restrictions have meant that not all the authors and judges can be in the room with us together. However, we're delighted that Sienna Brown and Catherine JINKS can be here. And we'll be able to have Mirandi Riwo in Brisbane, our other shortlister, as well as judges Paula Morris across the Tasman in Auckland, hi, Kirsty Murray in Melbourne, and Colin Faulkner all the way from the other side of the continent in Perth. I'd now like to call on Edward Federman from the ARA group to announce the winner, and for Linda Fennell, the chair of the judging panel, to come up and give the judges' report.
Well, after much debate and discussion over the 3 shortlisted titles, the judges voted and the winner was decided. The winner of the inaugural 2020 ARA Historical Novel Prize is Stone Sky Gold Mountain by Mirandi Rewan. Congratulations, Mirandi.
Oh my God, thank you.
I understand Bianca's here, and it was nice to meet her earlier, so she can accept, with your permission, accept the prize on your behalf.
That's too much.
All right. Well, this is for your mom.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And
Congratulations.
Hi, darling.
a very special trophy that was designed and handcrafted by Isao Takazawa, who is one of our very well-known designers in our company. And this is for you as well, Mirandi. So.
Wow.
Thank you so much. Oh my God. Bianca, I was going to say my speech.
Well, I'll let Mirandi gather her thoughts, and we'll have Linda give the judge's report first, and then we'll hear from Mirandi.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Ed. Stone Sky Gold Mountain is a layered novel that transports us into the heat and chaos of far north Queensland's Palmer River goldfields in the 1870s. Its 3 central characters, the Chinese siblings Ying and Lai Yu, and Miriam, the daughter of English settlers, are depicted with sensitivity and clear-eyed empathy. The harshness of the goldfields is vividly recreated, contrasting the hopes and dreams of those like Ying and Lai Yu, who seek to restore their family's fortunes in China, with the realities of violence and hunger. The novel sheds a fascinating light on a corner of history rarely illuminated in Australian literature. The historical detail is deftly woven into the narrative through the perspectives of the 3 characters, showing a depth of understanding of the period and its attitudes. It is both intimate in its exploration of character and epic in its depiction of the enormous social and economic movement of people and resources into far north Queensland during the gold rush. Stone Sky Gold Mountain encompasses racism, snobbery and sexual violence, alongside moments of tenderness and connection in prose that is immediate, vivid and poignant. Mirandi Rewan's skill at presenting diverse viewpoints in intricate detail has made her novel stand out in a very strong field. Congratulations, Mirandi.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you for those kind words. So first I've got to find my speech. First, I would like to pay my respects to the Turrbal and Yagara people on whose land I live and write, and also to the Kuku-Yalanji people on whose land my book is set. Thank you so much to the Historical Novel Society Australasia, and thank you, lovely judges. Thank you so much. I'm just stunned. Thank you so much. I just really wish I could be there with you all. Huge thanks to the ARA group and Ed Federman for your vision and support of the arts, and in particular historical fiction. This is such a wonderful, generous, welcome prize. Congratulations to Sienna Brown and Catherine JINKS on your brilliant books too. I would like to thank UQP and my publisher Aviva Tuffield for being such a champion of my work. You're the very best. And thank you to my editor, Vanessa Platt and Louise Corneget. I'm so grateful to all my friends and family, my mum and papa, and my brilliant siblings, Liam, Tina and Damien, and my lovely children, Bianca, who's there with you tonight. Thank you, Bianca, and Jet and May. And thank you to Dave for all your love and encouragement. Historical fiction has a special place in my heart because it allows me to explore people who were elided or ignored in their own time. And also writing historical fiction allows me to reflect upon current issues to do with culture and gender, but in the safe confines of the past. Something Tony Birch spoke of recently really resonated with me. He spoke of the myth and the fabrication, a lie that is carried on into the future of an Australian history recorded from settler-invader sources. He encourages the exploration of a more ethical imagination, which I think is the perfect way to describe how historical fiction should be approached. Thank you, ARA. I feel so honoured to win this wonderful prize, the ARA Historical Novel Prize in its inaugural year. Thank you.
Congratulations, Mirandi, and I'm so glad we convinced you to have someone turn up to be in person here. So thanks, Bianca, for doing the honours. So I would now like to ask Catherine Jinks and Sienna Brown, our other wonderful shortlisters, to come up on stage to receive their prize money of $5,000 each. Hopefully the money will be some consolation. I know you will be disappointed. But congratulations on the immense achievement of being shortlisted. The choice facing the judges was diabolical, I know. And the 3 books were extraordinary that were up for judging.
All right. Catherine?
Thank you so much.
Well done.
Thank you very much. Am I supposed to say something?
Sienna.
Thank you very much. Sienna, would you like to say something?
Oh, absolutely. I did prepare a little speech. I was told I had to do something. Congratulations, Mirandi, and to my fellow shortlister. As a debut novelist, to be one of the shortlisted winners is a tremendous endorsement of not only me as a writer, but for the landscape of diversity within which we all hope to thrive. And how amazing to get this honour in the very surroundings where William Buchanan, my main character, would have passed through, from down at Circular Quay, up Macquarie Street to High Park Barracks as a slave turned convict. There's so many people to thank who have been thanked before: Ed Fetterman, the judges, Elizabeth Storrs, and also to my colleagues at Sydney Living Museums, Hyde Park, the place where it all started, Penguin Random House, of course, publisher Meredith Curnow, who I believe is here, and editor, back there, yes, editor Elena Gomez and Lex Hurst, who is a commissioning editor, without whom none of this would be possible, to my mentor, Catherine Hayman, who I sat with in this very room discussing the novel, to Professor Barry Higman, who kept me on the factual path at every turn, and to my friends and family who've been with me through all the highs and lows. A big, big love up. And as we say in Jamaica, walk good. Thank you very, very much.
Well, okay, I'm just going to say that this is one of those fabulous, there's only one other one that I know about, which is the Waverley Awards, which gives money to the shortlisted. Hooray, like, hooray. Because I've been shortlisted before for this book, but this is the first time I got some money for it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, okay, the list. Thank you so much, Historical Novel Society, and Elizabeth and Sophie and everybody. It's just so great that you did this. It's just so great. I've been writing historical novels for 30 years, and this is the first kind of historical novel prize. It's so exciting. Thank you, obviously, to Ed, the Lorenzo de Medici of the literature world. And because you're all history buffs, you know what I'm talking about. Thank you to my publisher, Text, who took this book on and who put the book in for the prize. I didn't know they did it. And thank you, my agent, Margaret Connolly, who told them about the prize. She isn't here, pity, but never mind. And thank you for my daughter for coming to hold my hand. And I just wanted to say it's just so great history, people who write history, you want to be in history. So it's like, this just takes me back to the moment when I was in Venice when I was 21, and I took a ferry to Torcello, and it was a misty November day, and there was no one else there. And I walked across the marshes, and there was nothing except a little old farmhouse. And then I got closer and closer to the 11th century church, which was built on, I think, a 9th century church or something. And when I got in there, I felt, and I don't know if this is what everybody who writes history thinks, but I felt that the membrane between me and the past was like gossamer, and I could just put my hand through. And that's what I want to do, and that's what I think what the history lovers want to do. So thank you for giving me money for having a great time doing that.
Okay, thanks again for joining us in celebrating this little bit of history in a historic year. The HNSA and ARA group are thrilled that we've been able to introduce this prize to the literary calendar. So congratulations again to Mirandi, to Catherine and to Sienna, and we look forward to 2021 when we open entries again for the prize. So authors, agents, publishers and booksellers, get ready to make more noise about historical fiction. Thank you all.